I can tell you, I wouldn't do it. I'm not going to sit there and take my shirt off and go, woohoo, I mean, it's just not going to happen. I don't think anybody would
Right.
want to see that anyways, but I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean?
Well, welcome back, guys, to episode 3 of Talk with Stephanie. And today we are welcomed back by Mike.
Hi, I'm back again. Nice to see y'all.
Yeah, it was uh, it was unexpected for you to come back.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. But yeah, you got
but
to do what
I'm
you got to do. I mean, I got a lot of
nevertheless, I'm
stories.
happy you're here.
Thank you. Likewise.
So yeah, today we're going to talk about um, age and different situations and uh, experiences in life that age does or doesn't play a role. So I think the best way to start off would be some examples of like age and stories with age. And I think that a good example of that is through career and job wise. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I definitely agree. I guess with anything, the older you get, the more experience you're going to have doing something or learning something. I guess it goes like, obviously the longer you do something, the better you're going to get at it. But yeah, I think that's part of it. I think, I don't know, again, as I touched on in last week's episode, how I started working at an early age, which I said I thought maybe it was illegal to start working at the age of 14, but I'm not sure. I think it is, or you have to have some kind of permit or something. But I think starting early, it can go both ways. It can help you build skills, or it can actually hamper you because you're not experiencing what peers of your same age group would be experiencing a lot. Because there's not going to be a lot of 14-year-olds going to the job force.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I think age does play a part. I think in some cases, the older you are, the more passed up you might get for a job. And I'm not saying, I think it's getting better now because they figure that the older people might have better experience, better skills, but younger people, they can get paid less. They can pay them less. They can do other things that they don't have to do for the more experienced seasoned guy, what I mean, or gal. So yeah, I think age plays a big factor in that.
You brought up a good point, though, in what you were saying, in that, some people with working early at a young age don't get to experience some of the things that other people their age would experience. And do you think that situations like people's environments and how they grow up also affects them in a similar ways to in terms of age?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how couldn't it? You know what I mean? I mean, I definitely think how they grow up affects the different things they do at certain ages. Obviously, when I was 14, I wasn't working like a full time job. I was working like a few hours at a fast food restaurant. It wasn't like I was doing any like super hard work or anything. But do I think it affected me? Well, in some cases, I mean, realistically, when I was in senior year of high school, I only had 4 classes, and then I was gone for the day. I went to work program, and for me, I think it was beneficial. But now, on the other hand, I'm out of work, and my friends are not. They're at school, and they're looking at me like I've got something better than they've got. You know what I mean? When, in all honesty, they might have had something better than I had by being in more classes and doing more things. In my opinion, it can go both ways on that as well. But I think, does age affect how you grow up? Sure, I think so. I mean, I think kids, first and foremost, I think kids are growing up way too fast these days. I think there's a big um, ideology that the more you show, the more famous or popular you'll be. It's kind of disgusting that people feel that way, that they have to go that route. And I know it's for some people that's their thing. That's great, you know what I mean. But I don't think it's for kids, and I think kids are getting exposed to these lifestyle changes and things at very early ages. I'm talking early as 9, 10 years old, as far as I can probably tell, you know. Not that
Yeah.
I'm going on these sites because I don't have TikTok, I don't have Instagram, I don't have, I only ones I have is Twitter, a Facebook, which I haven't used in probably a year, and then YouTube. That's it. So realistically, I don't really have much to verify that off of. But I just, what I can see on YouTube, even like in the YouTube shorts and stuff, the people in the YouTube shorts and all these other things are starting to get younger. They're starting to do more things, like more suggestive things, I think, you know, to try to gain popularity. And I don't think that really helps with self-esteem. I don't think that helps with a lot of different aspects of growing up. I don't think that they're getting out of life what they truly should get out of life by living life the right way. You know what I mean? I think they're going to make bad choices down the road, do things that they're going to regret, and I just don't think it's right. And I think that their age, it doesn't it plays a factor in that, because they are getting shown it at a more earlier age. And it's just, I don't know, I think when I was growing up, there was no telephones with social media and things on it. So I don't know, you know, I think that might be why I look at things a little bit more differently. And I didn't grow up with that stuff. So I really can't formulate why they do what they do. I can tell you, I wouldn't do it. I'm not going to sit there and take my shirt off and go, woohoo, you know, I mean, it's just not going to happen. I don't think anybody would
Right.
want to see that anyways, but I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? Because why? Because I have respect for myself, and I've learned that that's not the way you gain friends or followers or whatever. I mean, you know, hey, look, we're just starting. I hope people like my silliness and my humor, and I hope people love you. You know, I hope that happens. Um, I'm not showing anything to get those views, and I don't think you are. So, I mean, realistically, you know what? I just think you can do it a different way where it doesn't have to negatively affect your life. And I think kids shouldn't really get cell phones based on age. I think until they're 18, because I think it's corrupting them. It's just making it worse. They're not focusing on studies as much. They're not taking things seriously. They're taking, like, I'm going to be the next big thing on YouTube or TikTok or any of these platforms that they can just do whatever they do silly stuff, do even sometimes dangerous stuff, and people will watch it. As we were talking earlier today, I said to you, I said, you know, the funny part about all these social media platforms is people love to watch train wrecks. And what I mean by that is, like, the person who's doing something that's either going to get them hurt, the person that's doing something that's going to get them thrown in jail, the person that's just making like mean comments or silly comments. People they egg on that. They egg into that. They like keep wanting to see that. So they're egging these people on to do these crazy things. And realistically, a 17-year-old kid or a 16-year-old kid who's now going to be 22, 23, his life pretty much, for all intent purposes, because of what he has posted on social media, could affect him so negatively that I think it's just a bad thing.
And I think too, just growing up, like how I did too, just seeing like certain things, like you had said, like things that are out on the internet or on TV or whatever, and um, things would be on that like my parents would watch, like The Sopranos or stuff like that. And I think at a young age, like I knew what certain things were and different things because I saw those things and
Sure.
whatever. So I think in that way it made me grow up faster in some of the things like you see as a kid too.
Yeah, I could see that. I definitely, yeah, for sure.
So I think you could talk to a group of like even teenagers and everyone's experience and like how they view things would be so different.
Oh, for sure. And I think some people get a negative, they get the negative side of it, and some people get the positive side of it. Obviously, if you're not attractive, you're probably going to get the negative side of it. I think that's unfair. I don't think that's right. Somebody who's maybe not quote unquote as attractive might be funnier than the person who is attractive. Most of the time, the person who thinks they're all that really isn't all that, and that's most of the time. I would say if they're pompous and showing off and whatnot, then chances are their self esteem is in the ground. And the person who's not so popular, who's trying to do that and trying to be funny or whatever, make art or whatever, I think they're actually doing it for the right reasons, and I think they would go further. It's just the thing is that people won't give those people the time of day most of the time. I don't think. I mean, again, I'm not a big social media person, but it just seems to be the trend that there's a lot of like trolls, as they call it, or people who just want to bash on people or haters or whatnot, or just they just do it. Just they don't really even probably hate the person. They're probably just doing it just to get a rise out of them, I think. And I mean, and what good did that do anybody? Because it's causing people to feel a certain way, or maybe that person now gets depressed because you said something. I mean, come on, let's be real, you know. I mean, we got to end that. We just got to stop from doing that.
Well, and a lot of times those people, like you said, it's not even that they hate the person. It's either, a jealousy thing, or it's a problem that they're working on within themselves, that something they're not happy with, and they're just, had a bad day or whatever, and just took it out on that person and made that comment.
For sure, for sure. I see that a lot. I mean, just look at the cancel culture out there. Even on the YouTube that I do watch, I mean, people are getting canceled for all kinds of things, and people are getting hate for all kinds of things. And some of these things, and I'm not sticking up or advocating for any of these people doing what they do. I'm just saying that like some of these things they did when they were immature kids, and yeah, and now I do still hold them responsible, but in some aspects, maybe they didn't know better. I'm hoping maybe they didn't know better. It's hard to say. Some people are just born to be hateful, but I think upbringing has a lot to affects. I think that affects your age a lot for sure. I definitely think, to go back to your question before, I think it does definitely have an effect on your age and things like that. So for instance, if you're somebody who lives in poverty and your parents always running out and doing drugs or this or that, or running the streets or whatever, and you're stuck at like 10 years old having to be a parent to maybe some younger siblings or something, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that forces you to grow up fast. So yeah, definitely a lot of things in environment can affect a person and their age, from even for older people in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't come from a place where I um, really right at the moment like struggle to worry about where I'm going to be. I mean, I'm pretty secure here. I'm not going to say I'm 100% secure for sure. I got debt and everything else like everybody else does, but um, my whole point is that um, I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry, people. I lost my train of thought. I was just talking about like, yeah, the kind of person I am and where I grew up. I mean, I can't sympathize with people that come from poverty because I never did. But, and I'm not proud of that. I'm by no means, but I just think, yeah, I mean, I think where you grew up has a lot to do with, I mean, it has a lot to do with how you age, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and to segue into that, into music,
Hmm.
and kind of tying into, like you had said, growing up and stuff, do you think that music has, or age has an effect on music? Do you think that certain age groups are more inclined to listen to certain things, or do you think that it's totally at random, depending on the
Um,
person?
in some cases, I think the general society listens to the same stuff, and I think the outcast society listens to the odd stuff. Like, okay, for instance, like everybody listens to Taylor Swift. She's so cool, you know what I mean? And everybody listens to who I don't even know some of these other people's names, these rappers or whatnot. Um, it's just I think for sure their age group would dictate to what they listen to, you know what I mean? Like I'm sure younger girls are listening to Billie Eilish type stuff, and I think older girls are probably listening to stuff like I don't know, Beyonce or something like that, that's a little more adult oriented. But then again, a lot of the stuff that's made for kids is starting to become adult oriented, as I said in the other segment. You know, it's weird because like when I grew up, I guess the thing you could relate to adult content would be, I listen to heavy metal music. So growing up listening to heavy metal music and having older siblings that listen to heavy metal music, that got me turned on to heavy metal music like Metallica and stuff, um, and Slayer, things like that. I think that they definitely had an influence on me growing up and aging faster, because in a sense, people can argue the fact that what they're doing today is no different than like Metallica or Slayer talking about death or talking about dismemberment or any of
Right.
this stuff. You know what I mean? Not to say that they're bad, and not to say that me as a person listening to it. I started listening to metal when I was a tot, man. I mean, little. And the thing is I didn't grow up to be like crazy or insane or want to go hurt people or any of that. I didn't do that. But
Right.
I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, it does. I do think it ages people quicker. And I think that's why the trends on social media are getting more age inappropriate, in my opinion. I think music has definitely impacted the younger generation for sure. Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, they're listening to things like shake your ass. You know what I mean? Like, it's just weird to me to think that's even cool. I mean, that's not. I mean, really, we all know that there's a female gender out there and there's a male gender out there, and we know there are beautiful people and we know there are people that are not as beautiful. We get it. I mean, what more can you say? Everybody's beautiful, you know what I mean, in their own way. Everybody's beautiful, but the thing is yeah, you're objectifying people, and it's weird to see even girls in modern music objectifying women themselves. Like, that's weird to me. Like, why are we degrading ourselves just to get popular? It's not a popularity contest. It's, see, when I grew up, music was about music. Music wasn't about what the people looked like. I mean, think about the days before music videos. Okay, you had Elvis, you had the Beatles. You had to go see these people live to see them. I mean, yeah, you might catch them on a TV show once in a while, but you really, in order to experience it, you had to go see these people at a concert. You know what I mean? You didn't get to see it on TV like in high def 4K. I mean, TVs didn't have that back in the 50s and 40s and 60s.
Well,
I
and
mean,
even back in when you were growing up and stuff, some of the stuff that's on these uh, not concerts, what do you want to call them, award shows, where the certain acts or certain performances,
for
like just
sure.
back when you were growing up, that wouldn't fly at MTV.
No, and I think, and I hate to say this, and I'm probably gonna maybe turn some heads. I'm gonna turn some heads. I think because back when I was growing up, church mattered to people a lot more than it does today, and I think people took their morals and their moral compass into consideration when they did things. I think not everybody. I'm obviously there was a lot of bad things that happened through this through time. I mean, through all time. But I think people did believe in God a lot more. I think people didn't find hate in everything, and I just think that, like, people, yeah, they just took their morals more into consideration. Like, why am I doing this, or why would I do this? Why would I put my shake my ass on TV just to make a dollar? You know what I mean? Like, isn't that technically kind of like what the porn industry does? Why don't we just allow that on TV? If we're gonna allow 12-year-old kids to shake their ass on TikTok, why don't we just make porn for everybody? You know what I mean? Everybody should watch porn. Great. No, I don't buy that, and I'm not advocating that. What I'm saying is that's how redundantly stupid it sounds to me to have this being going on, and that somebody's allowing it, and parents are allowing it, or parents don't know it's going on, but they should be probably more proactive into their kids' lives. I think kids just do whatever they want, and it's like very, very wrong stuff sometimes. And it's like, I'm not saying all of it's wrong. There are people out there that are just trying to pave a way for themselves or to pave a way for their generation. I get it. But at some point, you have to step back and be like, whoa, okay, this is a little over the line of what I think a kid should be seeing. You know, at that point, when it starts to cross the threshold between PG-13 and rated R, there's an age limit for that. You have to be 17 or older to see, I think 17 or older to see a rated R movie.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't it be the same for content on TikTok or, you know what I'm saying?
But I think you're right in that, and even with religion and age, and how you see, older generations that still practice it, whereas a lot of the younger ones, like people even your age, my age, or younger, it's kind of faded away. And
Mhm.
if you look even back in the '90s when everything happened with Columbine and even Marilyn Manson and his image back then, and everyone was like freaked out by him, and everybody had something to say. To now, it's just it's just Marilyn Manson. Like no one like
Sure,
blinks an eye.
sure, sure.
And I'm not judging him for his lifestyle or who he is as a person. I'm just, in people's eyes, like throughout time, just him as an example is just crazy how that's changed.
For sure. And I think to touch base on the religion part of it, where there's not as many people at a younger age that are into religion and that nature. And I don't think it's because I don't think the kids really. I don't think it was them that did it. I think it was their parents and their parents, probably mostly just their parents, people more closer to my age and stuff. You know what I mean? Probably. Um, I think they got to the point where they were either A, lazy, didn't want to go to church, or B, because things were starting to radically get more adult oriented everywhere. Even in kids' movies and stuff, you'll find suggestive content. Disney movies, great example. There's a lot of suggestive content there. Now, maybe a kid won't see it and an adult will get it. It's not the point. Eventually, the kid's going to realize what they saw 20 years ago.
Well, yeah, and it's funny you say that just because, growing up, I didn't really, that wasn't, religion wasn't really, it was a thing, but it wasn't like, I didn't know what things were or why we were doing certain things or,
For
the
sure.
history behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So, even I knew like, how to pray. I knew how to do certain things, but I never knew like, what all the different religions were, why, we chose this religion and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But for sure, like I knew I could tell you all kinds of Disney movies and different things. And yeah, looking back at certain things like The Little Mermaid, and I guess the castles are supposed to look like something else. Right.
Suggestive phallic symbols, yeah.
Right. So, and even that was made even years before I was born.
For
So
sure.
that's crazy even.
For sure. And I agree. I mean, I don't know where it all came from. I don't know where it's headed. I can tell you now that I think the age group for people seeing things they're not supposed to see is going to start getting even younger, and that's sad. Um, I think it's a pretty evil world we can be living in right now, that people would think it's okay for that. Um, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a saint, and nor do I claim to be a saint. I've had my fair share of stupid stuff I've done. You know what I mean? I mean, come on, we're all human. But when it's all said and done, I've come to realize that in my life, there's more to life that matters to me than doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? So I'm more focused on the stuff that does matter to me, which is a lot more fun, enjoyable things to do in life. Improving on life, making life better, and not just sitting in a rut and going, "Oh my God, poor me." No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit here and idly drag myself into the dirt when I could be doing something to productively make myself a better person, to be able to do things to help people, to give people things, I just to give back. I mean, a lot of people did a lot of things for me growing up, and why shouldn't I return the favor? You know what I mean? So, I mean, yeah, I think those things are kind of important.
There have been a lot of times where, due to my age, either people make assumptions or discriminate, so to speak, against me for whatever reason, or think I don't know certain things because of my age.
For sure.
And even with past job experiences or just in general, have you ever faced situations like that with where somebody, I don't know, assumes something or whatever because of your age?
Me, not so much, because again, as I said in the last episode, I've been at the same job for 23 years. So I really haven't experienced that so much, because I pretty much grew up with the people that are at my job. So there really wasn't that kind of thing, you know what I mean? So in that aspect, I can't say I've ever been subject to that. I mean, yeah, even growing up working at a young age, I really never got anything like negative about it, because people were like kind of that's respectable. The kid's working, you know what I mean? The kid's got a job, he's making money for himself. Other kids could be cutting lawn, he's flipping burgers and making hot dogs. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I think, yeah, I'm at a loss for that. You know what I mean? It's one of those. I don't know. You know, people look at things however they want to look at it. You know what I mean? So, like I said before, I mean, some people might think I being 14 and having jobs commendable, and some people might say, hey, that's kind of not right. You know?
Do you think that age matters when it comes to like, let's say even having kids? Let's say, one of the partners is older or younger or whatever the case is.
I think it does affect it for sure. I think the older a person gets, the less likely they are to have kids or want to have kids. I think. I mean, it's not the same in my perspective. You know what I mean? I mean, I look at the people nowadays and celebrities nowadays and stuff, and they're having kids well into their 50s. Like, that's not out of the question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, am I kind of worried about that? Do I think that is a fact? Is it going to affect anything? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. When I'm ready, I'll be ready. When you're ready, you'll be ready. You know what I mean? When we're ready, we'll be ready. That's great.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I don't. I'm not worried about the fact that, yes, I mean, in some cases I do look at it and go, wow, I'll be so and so age when my kid's 10. You know what I mean? And is it fair for the kid to only have like 20, 30 years with me? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. I think love is love. And I think even if you give a kid 5 years of your love, that's 5 years of your love that kid got from somebody that cared about them. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's crazy too that you mentioned that just because, like you said, 20 or 30 years, but like truly, like no one knows how much time they have.
That's correct.
And even, people that were in my family and stuff, like living to be over 100 years old, like not, no one expects that.
Right. Yeah.
So who knows,
For sure. And I mean, yeah, my grandparents lived into their mid to late 80s. I mean, I hope I live at least that long. I mean, that would be great. You know what I mean? Everybody hopes to live longer. You know what I mean? I don't want to live for eternity. I mean, not in the way that you're that most people would take that. I mean, like, yes, an eternity in heaven is great. I'm there. You can sign me up. You know what I mean? But I mean, like, I wouldn't want to live on this earth for an eternity, because I just don't see it going in a positive direction, in my opinion. And I don't know, maybe one day this whole world will implode because of what we're doing, and who knows? I don't know.
I feel like that'd be really miserable to be like Edward Cullen in the Twilight,
for
to
sure,
live for however many 100 years,
for sure,
because you'd watch all these people and you'd make connections and everything throughout your life, but you'd always be losing people,
for sure. And the problem is that's why in that case you have to kind of hope you can get the person you care and love to be the same. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously we're not vampires, but in his case, hey, he could turn her into a vampire, and guess what? She could live forever now. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's a possibility. But in the real world, we can't bite each other's necks and go, hey, I'm living for eternity, brah. Cool.
Right.
No, it's not going to happen. But I think I couldn't live here for that long. I just think it would be a miserable existence. I think if we don't do something now to change the way the world's turning, oh boy, man, it's going to be a real miserable existence, even for the rest of however long I might have, even if that's 50 years. God, in 50 years, I'm kind of scared to see what it's going to look like. You know what I mean? Is it going to be like a barren war zone? Is it going to be, what is it going to be looking like? You know what I mean? Are we going to be like the Jetsons? I don't know if everybody knows who they are, but houses were up in the air and you flew. You know what I mean? Could be. Who knows? I mean, if Elon Musk has his way, we're definitely going to be flying. We're not going to be driving. We're going to be flying. That's what his goal is for us to be somewhere else on Mars or Jupiter or wherever. And, hey, bud, come to my Jupiter party today, cool. But I think in his mind, I think flight is where it's at. Yes, he makes cars. I get it. But I don't think that's where his heart is truly at. I think his space program is probably more of his brainchild, in my opinion. Now, I don't know a lot about the guy. I know he makes Tesla or Tesla, whatever you want to call it.
He's a really good example of somebody that's like aged, like you wouldn't think that he's as young as he is to know as much as he does, because I've even read that in articles. Like at 9 years old, somebody pointed to the sky and they're like, "Look, you can see the moon," and he knew exactly how high up in the air it was, like
For
by
sure.
like the exact like measurements, everything. And that was, and then from there, like he's just been obsessed with it, and he worked hard and researched,
But
the
that's the
heck out of
thing.
it.
That's the thing. He invested his time in learning,
Right.
not in going out and playing Minecraft or whatever the other Fortnite. He may or GTA even for that matter. But I mean, he went out and learned, and he absorbed information and information and information and information, and he got smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. And some people are born that way. I mean, some people just have that. You know what I mean? And for other people, I don't know, man. It could be the fluoride in the water that people always talk about, or it could be this or that make people a little bit weirder. And I don't know. I mean, I don't truly know what the cause is, but I definitely know that the ones that really apply themselves are the ones that make it in this world a lot of times.
Well, and they say that always be a student, meaning always be learning, always looking for the opportunity,
For sure.
because money can only be spent once, but knowledge monetizes, meaning
Hmm.
that you can take that knowledge anywhere and you can do something with it.
Correct. Correct. You definitely, knowledge is king. I mean, the more knowledge you got, the more you know, the more you can do. That's put you on top, you know what I mean? Just knowing a lot of things, you know what I mean? Knowing how to do a lot of things, not necessarily knowing a lot of things, knowing how to do and apply a lot of things, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's why I look to and I say, hey, guys that are, what's that word I'm looking for? I'm a engineer guys. I think those guys have to be smart because they're designing things that are just incredible. Like, I mean, come on. Like, for instance, I think like Elon Musk, he's kind of an engineer in my opinion. Like to make a train that can go 200 miles an hour or more, that's impressive to me. You know what I mean? I mean, don't get me wrong; they already have one in one of the Asian countries, but for sure, that's impressive, man. That's just it's insane to think about that. That you could literally from where we live to the city of Chicago, we could get there in seconds. It would be like, oh, done. Okay, cool. I'm here. Thanks. Bye. Wow, insane to think about that. So yeah, I definitely think engineers are gonna be the way to go for this country. I think you got to have a lot more engineering. I think we got to start developing more. I think we got to become the most dominant developer of stuff in the world. And I think we got to be able to produce and manufacture our own goods here, because eventually those ties could get cut off by these other countries that decide one day to go, oh, f you, America. We're not dealing with you no more. You know what I mean? So if we don't kind of like formulate our own infrastructure, how are we gonna rely on other people's infrastructure? They might not even cut us off. Their infrastructure might just collapse. Who knows? Nobody knows what the world's going to do. Nobody knows what foreign currency is going to do. Nobody knows what our currency is going to do. I can tell you from growing up, I mean, when it gets bad, it gets bad. I mean, 2008, prime example, it got bad. A lot of people lost a lot. And when that happens, your infrastructure goes down. You're reliant on other people, and it sometimes doesn't always work out, man.
So, um, since we were talking about successful people like Elon Musk,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that there's a certain age or that you you either succeed or don't succeed at, or have you ever had that moment in your life where you felt like, oh, I've hit this age, so I should have accomplished X, Y, or Z?
No, I definitely don't look at it that way because the thing I think about is like who knows? I I come up with ideas for inventions all the time. I mean,
I
I
know.
could be the next big thing. You never know. If I would just apply myself a little bit more, see, then my problem is I procrastinate. I might even said that in the last episode. I procrastinate on a lot of important things in my life, and I think I'm, and it's a bad thing. But in my mind, in some ways, it's kind of like I don't know that I can handle that kind of success that quickly. Like, you know what I mean? Like to have something one day that just everybody in America and the world and everywhere wants. You know what I mean? Like Steve Jobs inventing the iPhone or having his guys invent the iPhone. You know what I mean? Like that was a big thing. You know what I mean? That was like, whoa, this is it. This is the wave of the future, which you can see there's two main leaders in cell phones. You got Samsung on one end and you got Apple on the other end. Those are the big two, I would say, the big two for sure. There's other carriers out there that the OnePlus and all these other ones, but the big two are those two, and I think there's room for improvement. There's room for better things. I mean, I see problems with my Apple products all the time. Why is it that I buy a computer like now, but it was made in 2015 from Apple? It's like you're buying, even though it's sealed in the package, but yet it could be an older model that the store is still selling. It's like almost like they didn't change. Oh, it's a 256K. It's what you wanted. But then you go to upgrade the thing and it won't let you upgrade. It says, "Oh no, you're too outdated. Sorry." Like what's the point in that? Let's get a better system down because shouldn't all Apple operating systems in a sense kind of work on all Apple products? Yeah, I get the memory thing and I get the RAM thing and I get all that, but there should be easier ways to upgrade instead of having to buy a $2,000 computer every 3 years. It's stupid.
Well, it's no different than the iPhones themselves cost about a grand.
Right, right. And I know. And the thing is like, okay, for instance, to relate back to relying on other foreign countries for things, from what I understand and what I read, the the car companies are struggling to make cars because there's a shortage on microchips. Okay, there's a shortage on microchips, so now they can't make the cars work properly, so they can't make cars. So what do? You know what I mean? Why is that like that? Because we rely on somebody else to do this for us instead of relying on somebody else and having our own abundant supply of things that we need to produce these things to make our country survive and to get other countries to survive. You know what I mean? Like we should be making as much as any other country's making. You know what I mean? Because eventually the well's going to run dry. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. Everybody's going to use up all the resources, and yes, I get if another country's making resources, it's also going to take resources, but you would have an abundance of product to keep going. You know what I mean? So if you use technology and you make technology work for you instead of making you work for technology, then I think things could get a lot simpler, a lot better. I think definitely they could probably make older things work like newer things. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's ways to do it. They just don't want that because they don't make money if you keep a television for 12 years. They want you to buy one every 3 years or whatever because you don't have the biggest and best thing. You had 1080 up. Well, 4K comes out. Well, you want to look the best, you got to have 4K. Now there's 8K. 8K has come out. Okay. So now anybody who has a 4K really doesn't have the best anymore. They might think they still have the best, but they don't have the best. 8K is the thing. So you know what? They just keep doing it just to entice you into wanting to buy more. But then they make the other products that go along with it not work well with your products that are older. So they force you into buying newer things. Now, I think that's why we need better production, and that's why we need manufacturing in America and stuff. I think there's a lot to be said about that.
So, going back to you and your inventions and
Uh-huh.
things, uh, as you guys can see, Mike knows a lot about different things and he has different ideas. And this is why I get frustrated because we watch shows like Shark Tank and Thunderdome and all these
For sure.
cool shows, and like honestly, like some of these things that people make money off of and stuff are silly or not as useful as some of the ideas that you've come up with, and I'm just like, you could be doing this.
I could, and eventually I probably will get off my butt, but it'll be a bit too late. Which has already happened to me. I had an idea for something way before it came out, like way before it came out. I never saw it anywhere. I looked it up and it wasn't nowhere. And now I can explain it to you because it's already out, so it doesn't matter to me anymore. So there's a spot in a surrounding town of mine by where I live that has this weird stop sign scenario. So what it is as you're coming down this road, there's a main road that crosses, and there's a stop sign for you before you get to the right before you get to the main road, but there's a tree there and it's blocking it, kinda. So now, if you go across the main road, there's a little short section, and then you have to either make a right or a left. It doesn't keep going straight, so there's a stop sign there. So what would happen is people wouldn't see the one that was kind of blocked by the tree. They would think the other one was the main road, and it wasn't the main road. It was across the main road, and they'd fly out in the middle of fucking traffic and get hit. Boom. Um, so I thought, well, what if you took solar power and you took some lights and you put some lights around stop signs so they would flash red, ding, 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 so you would know there was a stop sign there. So you would be stopping. You would notice. I mean, it would startle you into going, oh wait, there's a stop sign here.
Right.
And I came up with this idea. It was nowhere to be found. I didn't do nothing about it. And about maybe 8 to 10 years later, all of a sudden they're out there. They're all over the place now. At least in my state, they are. I don't know about other states, but in my
when
state.
that happened, like, how did you feel at that point? Because you were like, that was something that you obviously thought you designed or
I kind of kicked myself for it because the thing is I knew it was my fault for procrastinating. There was no question in my mind that it wasn't my fault. It was my fault. When I saw it, I was kind of down. I was like, really? I had that idea. You know what I mean? So it kind of takes a little bit out of you, but then you gotta blame yourself for not doing something about it. See, now I don't always procrastinate because I don't want to just do nothing about it. Sometimes it's like I'm still trying to figure out how exactly it works. You know what I mean? I know it would work, but how exactly does it work? Because when you apply for patents and things, you gotta have all your ducks in a row. You either got to have a working prototype and you have to have a display of how it works. You have to have blueprints. There's a lot of different things that you have to have a lot of times to get, depending on what you're applying for a patent for. If you're applying for a patent on an idea, no. But if you're applying for a patent on a product, yes. You have to have all the ducks in a row. You know what I mean? You have to have more things in place. You kind of do for that too, but you have to have more ducks in a place to actually patent the product and all the specifications of the things that go to the product. All those things get patented, and that's the struggle for me, because knowing exactly what pieces are what and what to call these pieces are my struggle. And the thing is there's places out there I could get help, but I'm afraid that if I go to one of these invent tech or inventors help thing, that they're going to help me all right, but they're going to help steal my idea. Because see, an idea, it's like when you get a patent on an idea, after 10 years, your patent expires. Now, if somebody changes one little thing about that, even during the time you have a patent, if I remember correctly, if somebody even changes it just a little bit to where it's different, they can now call that product theirs. You know what I mean? So you could lose out anyways. So you got to really have all that tightened up so that nobody can really get towards any kind of thing to do with your product, because you would patent every piece of the product. You know what I mean? Like, you can't make this door unless you pay me a patent right. You can't make this panel unless you pay me a patent right. You can't use this kind of hinge unless you make me a patent, unless you cut me the patent right.
Well, and I think what's even harder too is on shows like Shark Tank. Not only do you have to have the prototype and displays of how it works and all that, they want the
Sales,
sales,
yeah.
and they want to see the numbers
For
because
sure.
they can't back something without good numbers.
If I brought you this cup today and said this is the most important cup in the world, this is the best cup you're ever going to drink out of, and you say to me, "What are your sales?" and I say 0, what are you going to go? Yeah, I'm buying into that story. All right.
No, I'm gonna question it and feel like
For sure.
hesitant to want to invest in that, even if the product's good.
Right. I agree.
All right.
Yeah. I mean,
anything else to add?
I, I don't know. I mean, we can go on for days. I mean, maybe we'll save it. Maybe I'll be in episode 3. Maybe. Maybe I might make episode 3. We're gonna find out. I don't know. Maybe I might become a permanent staple. I don't know. Oh, and by the way, I look a little different from last time. I did dye my beard. I did dye my hair again. Just because I get aggravated with it, and I kind of like it when it looks a little darker because it looks more full. It's not because I think I look old. It's just because I think it looks more full. Plus, I have this red skin, and I try to hide it as best as I can. I've tried to clear it up. I've tried a lot of things. Nothing really seems to work. But then I also get a little lazy again. I'm putting on skincare products. You know what I mean? You think a guy and like, oh my God, I can't put on a skincare product. That's for girls, but no, it's for guys too. And I do have some and I do use it, but I got to learn to use it more regularly. So, hey, that's what you need to know about me. So,
well, thank you for being on another episode of
always. I'm starting to like this. I'm starting to feel more comfortable doing this. So, anytime you need me, I'm here.
Awesome. Right. Well, thank you guys for watching episode 3, and check out new episodes of Talk with Stephanie every Monday.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.